Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us coast to coast this week in America. To his many devoted fans, he's known as the country doctor with a city education, Dr. Michael Smith. Dr. Mike is senior health scientist and online personality for Life Extension, the world's leading organization dedicated to extending the human lifespan. An author, blogger, he creates and conducts webinars and appears in informational health and wellness videos, known for his engaging ability to break down complex medical topics in a clear, conversational manner. A go-to national media expert, a graduate of the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, at the forefront of modern science and extending healthy lifespan. Back with us on This Week in America, Dr. Michael Smith. Dr. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
It is always great to have you on the program. Today we're
Thank
talking
you.
about safeguard your skin from the inside out. And I'm looking at that. It's like, that's real interesting. How do we go about doing that? And you've been very busy with all your scientists down there, and you've got some ingredients that that are going to work to help us out here.
Yeah, so it's an interesting topic, right? It's there's a kind of a trend, Rick, in the industry, the supplement industry, of the beauty within, and what that means is, we take supplements, oral supplements, right, for our brain health, for heart health, for joint health, et cetera, et cetera. But what's interesting is that when it comes to the largest organ in our body, we don't do that really. We put on a bunch of lotions on the top part, and unfortunately a lot of those lotions really don't penetrate deep enough to really give you a benefit. I'm not saying they're all bad. The moisturizers, stuff like that, are really good, but it's interesting that we don't feed our skin. Like I said, it's the largest organ. We don't feed it with oral supplements, really, do we? It's all topical. So there's this movement in Life Extension. I don't mind telling you, I'm kind of proud of it. We really kind of started this movement of feeding the skin the nutrients it needs to stay healthy and young looking orally from the inside out. And so so we actually came out with ceramides, which is a kind of like an oral moisturizer for the skin, and we started to think about, what about sunscreens? What about when people are outside, especially during the summer, and they're getting sunburned? It turns out a lot of people don't use the sunscreens like they're supposed to, and
Exactly.
a lot of people
Yes.
are exposed. So we thought, hey, why not take this beauty within idea to the sunscreen level? And are there some nutrients out there that if you take them orally, that will feed up into the skin and act like a UV barrier? And it turns out when we did the research, we did find some. And so we're bringing now to the market some ingredients that do just that, as an inside-out sunscreen in a way. Now we have to be careful. There's real definitions about, Rick, what makes a sunscreen, and the government is very strict about that. So we're not really calling these ingredients sunscreens. That has to be topical. But we are saying that when you ingest these ingredients, they do feed up into the deeper parts of your skin, and they can protect those skin cells from UV exposure. And so we're really excited about this. And now this group of ingredients, and we'll talk about it here in a second, but I'm just giving you the story, right? This group of ingredients, when we put them together, but let's say about 2 years ago, it turns out we really did a good job because one of those ingredients, through very recent research, has now been shown to actually prevent skin cancer. And so we really are not, so we're not just protecting from sunburns and stuff like that, right? We're actually doing something far greater than that. We're protecting skin cells in a way that promotes healthy cell growth, youthful cell division, and not that bad cancerous stuff. So this is pretty awesome what we're bringing to the market.
It's really exciting because so often when we find ourselves exposed to the sun, we're not necessarily planning on that. We're outside a little bit longer than we thought we were going to be.
Right.
We don't have, the lotions that we're going to put on us, so we're concerned about that. This is something that is revolutionary because you really don't have to worry about that when you take the supplements. Let's talk about the ingredients. By the way, you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get information, link on directly to Dr. Mike's website, or go very simply to lifeextension.com/B3 and get the information that we're talking about. Give us an idea of the ingredients here and how they all. You've got what, 3, and they all mesh together, and the end result is really amazing.
Yeah, so let's break up the 3 ingredients this way. 2 of the ingredients, and we'll talk about them first, because I want to save the real awesome stuff kind of for the end, so the listeners remember it, right? So
big finish, yes.
So 3 ingredients, and the first 2 ingredients are really the UV protection ingredients, kind of the inside out sunscreen, if you will, right? So we have we have a really interesting fern. It's a desert fern, and what's really cool about this fern is in the desert heat, it's able to stay green. And that's very unique. There's only a few plants that do that, like the cactus family. And this is the only fern that we know of that in a desert environment, it can actually stay green. How is it able to protect the chlorophyll and stuff that gives the fern that green color? Well, it turns out that there are key compounds in this fern that actually do that, and they protect from the UV exposure the plant itself. And so we found the fern, we isolated those key compounds, and we put them in this product. So we're basically giving you the same nutrients, the same compounds that this desert fern uses to stay green in a desert. So I know we're not worried about staying green, but we are worried about the sun causing aging appearance of our skin, the wrinkling and all that kind of stuff. We know that most of skin aging, Rick, is from sun exposure, right?
Yes.
The wrinkles, when the tone of your skin doesn't look right, there's discolorization, all that. That's sun exposure stuff. And so here you got this fern that through who knows how many thousands and thousands of years came up with these compounds that could protect it. So we're just going to borrow them. We took those compounds. It's the actual fern, if you want to know the name, is called Polypodium leucodermis. I just like saying it. It's a cool name, right?
I like that, yes. I'll let you say it. I'm not going to repeat that, but yes.
It's just fun to say. But we don't have to say it again. But that's the fern. The key compounds then we standardized in this product, and we're really excited about. I don't know what it is, but I get excited when I talk about that story. I think it's so cool when we are able to use something that truly is established in nature to work, right? I mean, the evidence is in this fern that can stay green in a desert environment. And when we're able to then isolate those compounds, study those compounds, bring those compounds into market,
right,
and apply them to humans in a safe and effective way, that's kind of really what natural medicine is. And I think it's a really interesting story, and we're really excited about it. The other ingredient in here is known as picorrhiza. It also has some UV protective abilities, but I think most of it is really coming from the fern. And so that's the sunscreen part of this product. The other part, which is let me tell. I want to mention one thing about sunscreens. We've, through this research, we discovered, and this comes from the United States government statistics, only about 15% of women and about 10% of men actually use sunscreen.
I can believe that.
I thought that those numbers were really low. But then what's even more interesting about this, the people that do use sunscreens, guess what, Rick? They don't use them right. It turns out that you're supposed to put on topically about a shot glass full of that lotion in one major body area every 2 hours.
Well, and that was the time that I wasn't real sure on, because I know that it's not, you don't put it on in the morning and then 9 o'clock at night, it still, has its impact. You have to.
Yeah, people don't. Yeah, you got to keep replaying. Even I know there's there's sunscreens out there that talk about being waterproof and stuff now. Yes. People are starting to question that a little bit. How waterproof really is it? I mean, just because the main oil part of the sunscreen is still on your skin, are the active ingredients that actually block and absorb the UV light, are they still there? So people are starting to question even the waterproof ones. And so we're just but you know what? It's all mute, because guess what? Most people don't use sunscreen
To begin with, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it really doesn't matter. But if you are going to do it, you do need to apply a lot, and you need to continuously apply it, even if it says like waterproof and can last so many hours. You got to follow the directions really well, and that's important. So that's the sunscreen side. But now this is the information that I really wanted to share with your audience, because this is really cool stuff. There's a third ingredient in this product called nicotinamide. And nicotinamide is simply a fancy form of vitamin B3. I think, most people know B3 as niacin. Is that right?
Yes,
I think most people recognize that. But there's different forms of B3. And I think it maybe surprises a lot of people to learn that there are different forms of vitamins. For instance, there's about 5 or 6 different forms of vitamin E. There's 3 or 4 different forms of vitamin K, and so on from there. So the fact that there's subforms, if you will, the fancy word for these are called vitamers. That's just a fancy way of saying that vitamin B3 actually has the niacin form, and then it also has this nicotinamide form. Well, it's the nicotinamide form that we put into the product. And the reason we did it, we had this idea. Nicotinamide plays an important role in helping skin cells make energy, ATP. And that's important because when you've been exposed to the sun, when you've had, especially overexposure, right?
Yes.
The sunburn, those cells are trying to repair themselves. And in order for a cell, any cell really, but especially in the skin, in order for that cell to repair itself, it needs a lot of energy. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
But it turns out the sun exposure itself kind of zaps the energy out. And that skin cell who's trying to repair isn't able to make this the right amount of cell energy that it needs to. And that cell energy is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. If it could, our theory was, well, if we help the skin cell make more energy after being exposed to the sun, maybe it'll repair itself faster. Maybe we can decrease the damaging effects, the aging effects of the sun. And so that's where we started with the product, and that's why we put the nicotinamide in it. Now, it turns out we were right, because a couple years later, it turns out that this nicotinamide can reduce the risk of skin cancer by 23%.
Amazing.
That's huge, right?
Significant, yes.
There's nothing else. There is no other known compound that can reduce the risk of skin cancer by that much. 23% is huge. And again, what the research played out and showed was exactly what we thought. It's all about that energy. When a skin cell is able to make a lot of energy and repair itself after UV exposure, it decreases the chance of that cell getting too damaged and becoming cancerous. So supplying the nicotinamide is raising up the ATP production. It's kicking in these repair mechanisms in the skin cell after you've been outside, and that's where the reduction in cancer comes from. So even though we started with the idea of just general repair, it's actually been extrapolated now to reduce the risk of skin cancer by 23%. This is a powerful combination of ingredients that we're bringing to the market.
Dr. Michael Smith, our guest on the program, senior health scientist, online personality for Life Extension, the world's leading organization dedicated to extending the human lifespan, talking about unique ingredients to support the body's natural immune response to UV exposure. Information at the website lifeextension.com/B3. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. A couple of minutes left in the program. We've talked about this before. Medical doctor background. You are so excited about what you're doing now, and your enthusiasm jumps through the screen, through the microphone, because you're unlocking all of these great mysteries and that are going to help us all live longer. I mentioned the healthy lifespan. You're in the front line of that, aren't you, of having us live longer and live healthier?
Yeah. So Life Extension is a longevity company, and so that's really at the core of what we do. That's really the true passion we have. Even bringing the nicotinamide to the market and preventing skin cancer, that all leads to that longevity idea, right? But that's really, our focus ultimately is in discovering simple, natural therapies that work with the body, that kick in normal healing processes that allow you to live healthier and longer. And that's an important thing. It's not just adding, and I'm glad you're asking this, right? It's not just adding years to someone's life, right? And if you look at where I came from, the pharmaceutical side, we're actually pretty good at that. People are living longer with these drugs and stuff because we're able to control like blood pressure better and cholesterol and all that kind of stuff, but they're not necessarily healthier. If you simply go into a internal medicine doctor office and you see the older patients that are there, it's kind of sad. Yes, they're in their 80s, but they can't do anything. And so when I see that, I think to myself, there must be a better way of adding years to the life that allow us to live and to be energetic and, actually travel more and really enjoy life. And so that's kind of my motivation for all this is I'm trying to discover things that, Rick, you can do and your audience can do right now to really improve the overall repair process in the body, these genes that are all about healthier cells, activating those genes. So those are the kind of therapies that we're really mostly interested in, and I think we've done a great job. And I think before we've talked about products that help cells to revert back to healthier states.
Yep.
Those kind of therapies are available right now, and Life Extension is really the one bringing them to the market.
I am fascinated, about a minute or so left in the program, with the discovery, with the science that goes into that someone looks at a fern and goes, I wonder how that works, and if we can take that and apply it to human life, and it worked.
That's science.
Exactly.
The first step in the scientific method is observation. And so so we see this green fern. It's like it's being just hit with all this UV and it's hot and it's green. And isn't that a great question? Well, why is that thing still green?
Exactly.
Well, it must be doing something.
Yes.
And that's what really makes this industry, I think, exciting. Is we really go back to that first step and we say, why is Rick living longer? Why does pomegranate help, cultures that eat it more live longer? And it's just observing and asking those questions and not being biased about it, not being biased about one form of medicine over the other. It kind of frees you to really look at the situation, make that observation, and start testing it. And you do it in a way where you're just trying to find the truth. It's not about pharmaceutical. It's not about Eastern medicine. It's about just wanting to discover how we can stay healthier longer. That's all it is.
It's fascinating what you do. Our guest in the program once again has been Dr. Michael Smith, Senior Health Scientist for Life Extension. The information we talked about on today's program you'll find at the website lifeextension.com/B3. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Doctor, it is always a pleasure to have you in the program. Unfortunately, out of time this time, but we will have you back in the program. Much more to talk about. Thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it, Rick. Take care.
You do the same. You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. And we're talking about lifeextension.com/B3 for information on today's program. We're back after these messages.